Hey, what is going on, everybody out there? This is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to a brand new episode of JJ's One Man Podcast. And boy, do I have a spicy episode for you today because we're going to talk about some content creation stuff, we're going to talk about some industry stuff, some PR stuff, and a whole lot about etiquette and style in this industry because I was originally not going to talk about this, but I kept thinking about the topic. It kept just sticking in my head, and I just kept pondering this thing. And I was like, you know what? Let me just put it in a podcast and open up the discussion because I feel like there's a lot of food for thought and teachable moments in here. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, many of you probably don't. Eric, who goes by @thepoolshark on Twitter, he's actually a Facebook gaming, streamer or partner. He's a USO gaming ambassador. He actually got into a little bit of hot water recently with a bunch of PR reps and PR people in this industry over nothing. And here's the crazy thing. He didn't do anything wrong. He was actually doing a stream, I believe, for Ghostbusters or the new Ghostbusters game that was coming out, the first-person shooter Ghostbusters. And there was, I guess, some confusing things going on with the embargo dates and as far as when the embargo lifts. And he started up a stream on his channel and such. And he titled the stream a very funny way. Just basically, I think he put it as embargoes, psh, kind of making fun and being cheeky about embargoes. But he didn't really show anything on screen yet at the time. He was actually just titling it and just setting up the stream for him to go live. It was so that way he could actually showcase the game after getting it for review code and stuff. It's pretty much doing what most streamers do. But the title of the stream was almost kind of poking fun at the idea of embargoes. It was supposed to be cheeky in the sense where it's oh, is he going to break embargo? But he wasn't. He was actually just setting up the stream and he had a really tongue-in-cheek or silly title. But here's where things got spicy, okay? And this is totally not his fault. This is totally not on him. This actually falls on the PR rep that actually was repping the game. And the guy, I'm not going to put his name out there, but it's already out in public. I'm pretty sure anybody can find it, but it doesn't matter right here because all of this has been settled. But basically, the PR rep for the game that either given him the actual game or had been part of the company that was giving out the games and stuff just went off on this guy and popped off completely on this dude, thinking that he violated embargo, that he broke an embargo. Which is not a good thing to do. There's a very bad thing for any content creator or any media person to do. There's a certain level of trust and a certain level of professional etiquette that you have when you have an embargo. You pretty much agree not to do something or make content or publish stuff but prior to a certain date and time in order to gain access to that early. It happens all the time within our industry, both in games and entertainment and movies, TV, etc. So this guy thought he was violating an embargo when he really wasn't. It was just based on the title. He literally probably looked at the title of his stream and immediately thought the worst. So what did this guy do? He went on Twitter, basically lambasting this guy, attacking his character, and totally just again, attacking this dude completely and getting a bunch of PR people that are all within the same circles because the games industry is kind of small. A lot of PR reps and even a lot of media people, we all talk to each other. We're all within the same circles or the same umbrella or vicinity. And all these people who were just character assassinating this guy, literally for going on a hunch. Basically because this dude thought one thing rather than doing what you're supposed to do, and that's actually confirm if someone actually broke an embargo, which was not done. Completely not done in this case. This guy, like I said, literally looked at the title of the stream or heard it from somebody else and immediately just thought the worst and just tried to kill a roach with an atom bomb, if that makes any sense. But bottom line, what you're supposed to do as someone who has worked in this industry for over a decade, that has worked with PR, I haven't been part of a PR firm myself, but as someone who has worked with PR, where accidents do happen or where things kind of go wrong or sideways, or there's a question about something, what you're always supposed to do is DM the person directly or just hit them up. I've actually had instances with PR reps for different companies for different games actually call up my personal phone whenever there was a question about something or there was something that needs to be reminded or something that was wrong, whatever the case may be. I've had that, or I've gotten emails or DMs or anything of the sort besides meeting in person. But this is not what this person did. This is not what this guy did. He actually just went straight to Twitter and completely started just dogpiling on this guy, or at least calling for a dogpile. Let me also make something clear. When you go on a public forum and you start attacking someone and you start not really just insulting them, but literally throwing accusations out there, you might not be saying that you're calling for people to dogpile on them, but you really are. Because when you have your connections within the industry, even if you don't have a large following, when you have a bunch of people that follow you within in this same type of field and you all talk to each other and they're all asking for names and for contact info and this other stuff, when you do that to someone, you're basically like putting a spotlight or putting out an alarm for people to dogpile on another person. Even though that might not be your intention, even though that might not be what you say you're doing, even if you come out and say you don't want people to do that, people are literally going to do that, which is exactly what happened here. Because it's crazy, because I actually saw, even though some of the tweets were deleted, I saw some of the screenshots from a couple well-known and people that I've known in the industry here and there actually calling for this guy's name and info in order to shame him and also blacklist him. And that's the crux of this problem, right? This is like a big issue and one that I took a lot of issue with when I saw all of this after the fact. You know, all these people were literally ready to just completely eviscerate this guy when he didn't do anything wrong. And then what was even more sad is that this lingered on for a while and there was a bunch of people on there, including some other individuals that I've met personally that were on Twitter calling for this, rather than anybody within any of these like conversations or threads actually confirming whether this guy actually broke embargo. So eventually, there was a back and forth with Eric and the PR person, and there was like, I guess, a conversation behind the scenes where somebody made some phone calls. Finally, somebody made some phone calls and they actually cleared it up. And when it was actually cleared up, the guy that was the original PR person that started this whole thing went on Twitter and finally apologized. But you want to know why this is kind of like futile and why this is like a little bit too late? Is because after all of that, after making such a big stink about this and like reaching out and talking to all these different people via both public and DM and email, at least according to what this guy put out there, not all those people are going to correct or at least going to take a step back and get the updated information and see what exactly was what. You basically called for this person to be blacklisted, and for all you know, there could have been some real damage done there. A content creator or even a media person that works at an outlet, but really a content creator, even if they don't have a team behind them, okay, or if they do have a team behind them or they don't, they could actually get into some real trouble and really be hurt when you blacklist them because you deny them access when a lot of their content, especially getting the traffic and getting the analytics up for their channels or whatever outlet they're a part of, a lot of that is dependent on that access, especially if they're a larger channel. So by taking that away from them, especially over something that was false and it was completely incorrect info, is a real shame. And it shows some really poor professional etiquette. And on top of that, the other thing too, which I find a little bit messed up, okay, at least this is what I saw. This was all after the fact. Not only did the guy apologize, okay, he apologized, which was, you know, again, way too late in my opinion, but some of these other people that were in PR, they had this very nonchalant, really crappy attitude, almost like it was either not a big deal, that when they were clearly just dead ass wrong, but also some of them had like this like combative attitude when a bunch of people in their threads were telling them, hey, you're wrong. Here's the updated info. Here's what actually happened. You might want to correct yourself or take a step back. They were all just like nasty towards people online. Now, I get it. Like Twitter could be a real problem. Twitter could be really annoying in some instances. All social media could be like that. This being a prime example of this. But like when you're in this field, and I think when you're in any field and you're part of a company, especially if you're in PR working with influencers and other media people, you can't have that attitude. I don't think you could have that type of like energy towards other people, regardless of how big your following is, regardless of what type of company you're a part of. What I also think is really crappy is just that some of these other people that worked at some of these other media outlets that weren't even in PR, that were just part of other websites and other content creator channels, right? They were just having the same type of attitude, the same type of like really crappy, like either they wanted to look good towards within that circle by trying to exchange info and trying to do all this stuff, or just come out and make like snide comments or indirect comments about this person. It was just really shameful. Like I looked at this, I'm like, damn, this is really bad. You know, this is one of the worst aspects of having a small industry, because while it's great where people could actually meet people and know each other and be helped out in different ways, this is also a prime example where this could actually really hurt someone, especially if somebody's incorrect. Because like I said, none of these other people that were chirping and none of these other people that were making comments on these threads on Twitter really did the due diligence of actually checking what was up, or at least seeing what the actual truth was. And Eric, you know, to his credit, like I looked at some of his tweets throughout all of this and even afterwards, he handled it with a lot of class, because he even came out and was like, say, listen, number one, I didn't break embargo. Number two, I've never broken embargo, maliciously. I never gone out of my way to break an embargo. This clearly was something that was not only a misunderstanding, but also a complete failure on the part, because apparently some of the embargo info that everybody was given was all messed up from the people that were actually making a big deal about this. And it's like, come on now. But back to Eric. He even went out of his way multiple times, by the way, I have to stress, went out of his way multiple times to tell people, listen, I get this is happening. It's kind of nonsense, but don't be malicious and don't be nasty towards these people. Don't dogpile. And here's the thing. Like I said before, I said that most of the time you can't really like go out there and do that because people are going to do that anyway. But I feel like it's a little bit different also when you're on the flip side of it. When you're the one being attacked, and you're the one that's like being like nasty, there are obviously going to be those people that run up to defend you, especially if you have a larger audience. And I think in instances like that, I think it's important to come out and say, listen, don't do this because this is not good. Regardless of what's going on, like we're going to take the higher road. We're actually going to be the bigger people, the bigger adults and all this, which again, to Eric's credit, he did perfectly. Because it came out and showed, and eventually this all got figured out, and all of this got settled right and actually set right. And it just sucks because from my understanding, like there's nothing like that has ever happens with any of his content. So for a lot of these people to like jump the gun and just automatically assume, okay, this is why you never assume, people. You make an ass out of you and an ass out of me in front of everybody, like straight up, right? But all these people assumed the worst and completely were ready to just drop the axe on this guy. And I felt like that's wrong. That's a failure on everybody's part of not only being a little bit more professional, being a little bit more due diligent on seeing what was what and what's real and what's not, but also just a lack of class. Because I'm pretty sure all those people, whether it was some of the bigger PR firms, some individuals that I saw, or even on the smaller ones, or other content creators and media people, if you were in that position, like that was happening to you, and you knew that it wasn't true stuff, you wouldn't want these people to act like that. You would hope that at least the repertoire, the rapport that you have with all these individuals speaks for itself. And that people would be more willing to give the benefit of doubt as opposed to just assuming the worst all the time. I get it. Like a lot of these jobs within an industry, especially PR, could be very stressful, and it could be a real pain in the butt dealing with all types of people, especially through social media. I get all that, but that you can't let that type of stuff like completely change us as people and let us become a lot more hostile within ourselves rather than actually trying to do what everybody constantly says that the people in this industry should do. And that's be better towards one another. Because from what I saw from all this stuff, nobody was being better, with the exception of Eric, towards anybody else. Because I felt like everybody was ready to chop off this guy's head as opposed to finding out what the truth was. And credit to the people that actually didn't do that, because there were other people, I have to admit, that were in some of those threads being like, hey, listen, like, let's hold on a second. Like, did he actually break the embargo? Did he actually do this like maliciously? Like, what's up? And once that guy that was on the PR came out and said like, no, I was wrong, I'll eat crow for this and stuff, I'm glad that he did it and owned up to it, because there are some people in this industry that I've seen and even met in person that wouldn't be big enough to do that, especially when they were wrong. And sometimes they've been very wrong in some really big cases. But more credit to him to do that. But still, like, the damage was done. Like, that should have never gone to that point. If there was a question of it, you should have just contacted the person directly. You should have just reached out to them directly. You're working for a PR company. I mean, that should be like, number one, or some of your biggest priorities is to not let things get out of hand if there's a problem, as opposed to just, popping off on a person, insulting them or saying all these things about them, or pretty much like indirectly encouraging people to be like that. That's the like real bad, like after effect that happens from all this. It's just wrong to me. I just feel like it's wrong. And not only did that dude, but a lot of other people in PR owe that guy, Eric, an apology, like straight up, because he handled all of this with class and they were willing to like throw him to the fire. And that's not cool. That's not cool for anybody, not just Eric, but anybody in this industry, content creator, media person, heck, even PR people. If there was like stuff that was like put out there and like stuff got passed around or chirping and stuff and it wasn't true, nobody should have to deal with that type of ire. Everybody needs to be a little bit much more better at their jobs when it comes to being legit and being credible and being actually, in the right when it comes to this stuff. But anyway, I know that's a lot to take in. If you want to see all that stuff out there, it's all out in the public right now. Just look around. You could see it. I mean, some of his fans probably already know about this stuff, so he doesn't need me or anybody else to defend him. But the point is that I think there's a much more bigger teachable moment in all this. It's about due diligence. It's about class. It's about professionalism and about honestly being better people in general. This was a case of where a lot of people failed at that. So anyway, those are my thoughts on the matter. Let me know some of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Tell me, do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree with what I'm saying? Which I highly doubt, because I don't think I'm saying anything that's like really that controversial with any of this stuff. Again, if you think what I'm saying is controversial, go look at some of the stuff that are in those threads from some of those different PR people. It's absolutely insane that like anybody working for a company could be like that, let alone pop off on Twitter the way that I saw, right? But put all that stuff in the comment section down below. Leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's more content coming very soon. I'm already working on my next game review that you guys are definitely going to enjoy. I will talk to all of you guys again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.